Janina, it's good news for embattled dairy company Synlait, which has had a major funding boost.
That's right. Shareholders have voted in favour of a $130 million loan from its major shareholder, China's Bright Dairy. The loan's been needed to repay debt to the banks by Monday.
And a major chicken company's growing. It's just bought 3 dairy farms in Waikato.
Agrite already operates in Australia and New Zealand. They have a farm south of Christchurch and another in Matamata, but they've just bought 240 hectares of land in Paeroa for $10.5 million, which they're going to turn into a broiler chicken farm. Agrite Chief Executive Daniel Bryant says there's growing demand.
The major processors being Inghams and Tegel drive their capacity demand, and they've offered up our capacity to Agrite to add to their already in place growing capacity around the country.
Now, there's been quite a bit of science news in the primary sector this week. Let's start with this project trialling new technologies for farming finfish.
Yes, so the Plant and Food Research Project has been granted consent to go ahead in the Marlborough Sounds. It will allow scientists to ramp up their trials in a more open ocean environment. Program leader Dr. Susie Black says the proposed 3.6 hectare site is within an existing mussel farm with bigger waves and stronger currents.
First up to bat is we'll be trialling some of our cultured snapper inside the fish enclosure, and that will be during summer this year.
Now, researchers are also looking to trial growing genetically modified ryegrass outdoors.
They're hoping to get permission from the Environmental Protection Authority. If given approval, it'll be the first time in over 10 years that GMO trials have been done outside. GMO research and the products that result from it are heavily regulated here, something the current government has vowed to change. Ag Research plant breeder and scientist John Caradis wants to test genetically modified ryegrass that is more resistant to pests in a real-world environment.
There's been a lot of indoor trials undertaken against the main insect pests that we have here in New Zealand. But my experience is that while they're a good guide, they don't often tell you the whole story.
Now, a new AgTech system aims to reduce reliance on chemicals used for weeding.
Yes, well, Map and Zap uses artificial intelligence programming to identify pest plants. That's the mapping part. It then uses a laser to zap and kill the weed. Founder Dr. Kumar Gamkar says it allows the weeding to be very targeted.
How it works is that it uses AI, the artificial intelligence, to detect weeds at species level and even identify weeds that you want to kill from weeds that you don't want to kill. And then that AI guides the laser to the exact position of the weed, and laser just kills that weed.
Meanwhile, the Environmental Protection Authority says it will not reassess the use of glyphosate. It's an active ingredient in weed killers such as Roundup. An advocacy group, Environmental Law Initiative, asked the EPA to reassess its use, saying new information about negative effects had come to light. But the EPA's Chris Hill says investigations show reassessment isn't justified and the risk of using the product hasn't changed. He says it's still safe to use products with glyphosate if the existing application rules are followed.
Well, this next is an interesting piece, following on from our story last time about agrivoltaics. Lincoln University is building a solar farm that will also grow horticulture crops.
That's right. The Lincoln University Energy Farm is still currently under review for resource consent, but they hope to trial growing crops like blueberries and raunui berries in the rows between the solar panels. They're hoping to establish 2,800 panels on a 4-hectare site near the campus. Project lead, Dr. Shannon Page, says growing high-value crops among solar panels could yield better returns for landowners.
Look, we would just really want to explore, what are the opportunities for farmers, for landowners, to really maximise the value of their land with solar in them. Sheep grazing is just but one option. So we're exploring a wide range of crops, from berries to vegetable crop, really exploring the potential of agricultural productivity within solar farms.
Now, hundreds of millions of dollars are said to still be needed to help Hawke's Bay growers recovering from Cyclone Gabrielle.
That's right. That's in a new report which has found the region's hort sector needs an extra $410 million. That's mostly for replanting and land improvement, as well as for ongoing orchard cleanup. Apples and Pears New Zealand Chair Leslie Wilson says it costs about $250,000 to replant just 1 hectare. The work's expected to take another 3 years due to a shortage of replacement apple trees.
Hawke Bay and Tairāwhiti and the other regions that were hit, the orcharding is an integral part of the community, a huge employer in those regions.
And good news at the supermarket. Fruit and veggie prices have had their biggest drop in over 60 years.
Yes, they've dropped over 16% in the past year. That's the biggest fall since Stats New Zealand records began. It's helped overall food prices decrease about 0.3%, the first time the total food price has fallen in 6 years. Meat, poultry and fish prices fell about 1.4% in the year to June, while the average price of a 1 litre bottle of olive oil has jumped 50% in the past year to $20. Now that's due to a global shortage.
Big jump there, and we're hearing of a relatively poor season in New Zealand, which won't help those prices on the shelf. Now, just finally, Janina, a new pilot program aims to teach university students all about the wonders of wool.
Launching later this month, wool dynamics will be taught at Victoria University, AUT, Otago Polytech, Massey University and the ARTA Institute. The Campaign for Wool General Manager, Cara Biggs, says it will allow them to connect with emerging creative minds before they enter the workforce and teach them all about wool.
We're looking at expansion. We know that education is the future. We know that the future of wool is around these young people who are coming through now. It's getting out to as many young minds as possible.
And the 56th New Zealand Young Farmer Competition kicked off in Hamilton this week, with the winner set to be announced on Saturday night, so keep an ear out. And that's the rural news.
Good luck to all of them. Thanks, Janina.
You're listening to Country Life on RNZ National, 101 FM.